So this is the first letter of Paul to Timothy. It's a reasonably short letter, just 6 chapters. Paul was a great apostle of the early church. He was someone who wrote a lot of New Testament letters and greatly influenced the spread of the gospel out from Jerusalem and the Jews to the Gentiles, to the rest of the world. Paul is writing this letter to Timothy as his delegate in Ephesus, and the purpose of the letter is that Timothy might know how to deal with the problems that the church is facing there. We're not really sure exactly what the nature of the problems was. There's a few hints in the book that it had to do with misunderstanding the Jewish law. Maybe it also had to do with some problem women, but we don't really know. What we have here is just one side of the story, what Paul was saying to Timothy, how he might be able to deal with it. Ephesus is a town in modern Turkey. It was one of the centres of culture at the time. It had both Roman and Greek and a small enclave of Jewish life there too, so it was a very cosmopolitan, multicultural city, maybe comparable to modern-day Manchester or London. It's got that kind of vibrant city life about it.
Yes, I think one of the things that's forgotten today is it actually gives you lists of qualities for bishops, priests and deacons.
He talks about the importance of being above reproach, being sensible, respectable, temperate, hospitable.
It really does set out what a bishop should be. He should be a good teacher, he should be hospitable.
Not a drunkard, not violent, not quarrelsome, not a lover of money.
He should be gentle, he should be approachable.
So he reels off all these qualities and these things that he wants to see in the church leaders.
And to have these actually in the Bible is very helpful.
It's got probably the hardest passage in the New Testament for women. It talks about women being silent in church, and readings from 1 Timothy have been mainly used by the church as justification for women's subordination and for women being kept in the background of church life. So in chapter 2, Paul writes, "Let a woman learn in silence with full submission. I permit no woman to teach or to have authority over a man. She is to keep silent. For Adam was formed first, then Eve, and Adam was not deceived, but the woman was deceived and became a transgressor. Yet she will be saved through childbearing, provided they continue in faith, love, and holiness with modesty." This chapter, I think, has made women and makes me feel sometimes marginalised. And it actually clashes with other parts of the New Testament in that, which are far more open to everybody coming together as one. This teaching is particularly hard to swallow because it's in the New Testament. If we had sexist teaching in the Old Testament, maybe it's easier to say that it's outdated and it's kind of new things have happened since then. But because we find, even in the New Testament, a tension over the place of women in the church, that has, I think, for Christians, maybe more authority because they don't read the Old Testament in the same way as the New Testament. So when Paul wrote this letter, he wrote in Greek, and he will probably have had a scribe writing for him. Letter writing then wasn't quite like it is today, where we privately take out our pen and paper or maybe type an email. It was a communal activity. So he will have sat down with some friends and hired a professional scribe, and they will have written the letter together, drafted several copies, corrected, maybe changed his mind somewhere, and then at the end he will have taken the pen himself and signed off, "This is Paul." And then you usually hired a courier to go for you. Travel was really expensive then, and letter writing was too. So you typically wait until someone was going to your destination and ask them to take your letter along with them. So it did take a while for letters to arrive at their destination. And usually you had to pay quite large sums of money, and they didn't always arrive safely. Sometimes they just got lost. And we know that we have at least 2 of Paul's letters that were lost in the process, and we don't have them anymore.